Hi guys. So I just got off the weekly Gene Key call, the one that is every Wednesday morning and that everybody can get on. So this was a really amazing call today, and I feel very inspired to speak about 20th Gene Key and how it shows up in our lives. So this Gene Key goes from the shadow of superficiality to the gift of self-assurance and the city of presence. And for me, I don't have it in my profile. I do have the 34th gene key twice in my body graph. And this is a gene key that goes from force to strength to majesty. And when we speak about the channel, because it's also a channel, 3420, we say that it's the pure manifesting generator channel because it connects the throat to the sacral center. And if we can feel into the shadow frequencies, and if we are superficial and then forcing, it's kind of this channel. It's just like using sacral energy to be busy about something, but that doesn't really have a purpose. So when we speak about this channel, it is a channel that kind of needs guidance. And one way of giving this channel's guidance is from the other two gates in the integration circuitry. So the integration circuitry in human design are these 4 gates: the 10 in the G center, the 20 in the throat, the 57 in the spleen, and the 34 in the sacral. So as we said, the 20th gene key is about being present in the now. The 10th is about behaving as yourself in the now, you could say, and the 57 is about your intuition, and the 34 is about that sacral power. So one way of helping, you could say, the 20 and the 34 together is to add the intuition, for example, of the 57. Or it's also about the G center, what I say usually about the center, about love, direction, and identity, to have who we are inside that behavior, inside that busyness. Also, we can say something about integration circuitry, that what we say about it is that it's what differentiates human beings from other mammals, because it is about kind of going about our own thing and integrating our experience and learning. And just taking, for example, the 57 and 34, when you have those two, you have the intuition in the now and the power in the now. So whatever happens, even like if the world falls apart, it's kind of, you have that intuition and the strength and the power to kind of react fast and to get out of that situation, to survive. So we can say that it has to do with survival, and that there is also a kind of fear in it of not surviving. And this is integration circuitry is part of the individual circuitry that is really about being ourselves. And actually, that this is something that Ross says, and that human design is kind of one of the basic things. It's good to be selfish. It's good to be here and be who we are, because by that is like we empower ourselves, and by being empowered, we can also empower others, and we also show what works and what doesn't work. And I read something about also the circuitry, that when we have those gates, it can be, we might need to integrate before we know. So it's not always you can get an answer out of somebody that has gates in the circuitry. And there is a certain deafness as well when we look at the 34 and the 20, for example, when they are in that kind of loop. And the shadow frequency, if we go in more to the gene keys now, when we have the superficiality, it's actually about being hectic in that way. But it can also, in the repressive part of it, it can be about being absent, like not being there. And I felt that in my life, and I've had, I can see it both in myself, but I feel like the earlier memories I have is when somebody else, when I needed, in my childhood, for example, to be there for me and be like, where are you? Like, I don't feel you exist, kind of having maybe somebody who's physically there, but you can't really feel like they are there, that they exist. So that is the repressive pattern. with the 20th. And then we have already spoken about this kind of hectic way. And I can also feel for myself, and I think I touched upon this a bit a couple of weeks ago, when I was about 30 and a lot of things fell apart in my life and I detached from a lot. And I thought back on the 10 years from I was 20. And of course, on the outer, I had done a lot of things. I had lived in many countries. I had had many interesting work projects. I had improved my languages, my skills, all that. But when I really tuned in, I was wondering, like, where have I been? Where have I been for me? Because if we are speaking about integration circuit, and if we are speaking about individual circuitry, which I have a lot in my chart, for example, the 2838 is about purpose and, you know, finding honor in what you do. The 28 is my pearl. So for me, I am here to like celebrate life in line 3 in my pearl and to find my purpose. And I realized, looking back at those 10 years, that I didn't live my purpose. I was kind of accumulating things and I was very busy, but was I really there? Was I really there in my purpose and my alignment? And then, of course, often we see things as black and white. So now, years later, when I look back, I can see that there was part, of course, of these 10 years where I did things, I did follow my heart, I was there, but it was easy to judge it. And also seeing that part of what I often go into is this forcing, which is living life kind of so let's see, I have to turn this off. Yeah, just kidding. So now I want to go into speaking more about the gift frequency. And the gift frequency is kind of when we come back to ourselves again. And it has to do with, you know, it's about self-assurance, but it's about coming back to ourselves, and it's often about pausing. And again, I have this opportunity to speak about the Art of Contemplation, which is the new book that Richard just came out. I don't even know if we can buy it in the States yet, or if it's only in Europe. And it is about when we are really present in our lives, is often when we pause. And when we don't feel like we're going anywhere, or we have to do anything, or we have to force anything to happen, but when we are simply just there. And I just love this book because it's those simple steps that I was speaking about in the 24th Gene Key, about pausing in our lives, and then something new can happen, something that we don't really even recognize or have the possibility to even be curious about when we hurry. And then it is like we merge with a life experience. And when we spoke about it in the 24th Gene Key, we spoke a lot about it in the sense of, you know, kind of that pause where we can get out of our addictions. But when and now it's in a much more simple way. It's actually, you know, we can actually bypass our own life and our own purpose by not pausing and by not allowing this feeling of, you know, being there with ourselves, which is a kind of self-assurance that everything is okay, that nothing needs to change, that we don't need to go anywhere, that just in the now, that's where the beauty of life is. And that also tunes into and links into when I was speaking about the 28th and the purpose, the life purpose of knowing that we are in alignment with our soul, or we are embodying that soul, or we live in totality in every moment. And like the 28th Gene Key says, that's a kind of immortality. So I feel like, in a way, this is a very simple Gene Key, and it's really about coming back to truth, coming back to the moment, coming back to pausing when we are running too fast. And that many times it's doing less that is more. And speaking about the city of presence, I feel like it's something that we need to experience. It's something that I can't really sit here and speak about. But when we start the art of contemplation, when we learn to look inwardly, when we learn to become that neutral witness that I speak about often, when we can kind of see our life happening to us and not judge everything that happens or try to change it, but just become this witness that doesn't really have to do anything, then there is a spaciousness that happens to us automatically. And even in pain, when we can be there, and kind of what I was saying, when I was a child and I didn't always feel that I had somebody who was there, when we can become present for ourselves and be that kind of assuring presence when things are painful or difficult, this opens up for a new level of healing, a new level of shadow work that doesn't have to even become that dark, because there is a gentleness in that kind of witnessing. And we can also say, which I feel it's interesting, that the 20th gene key in the I Ching is built of the elements of the gentle wind and the earth. So the gentle wind blowing on the earth, that's the geometry. So it is about softening and coming back and grounding into earth, and by that there's a completely new kind of experience that we can have here, even in the busy society that is around us. So, well, I guess that's an invitation to kind of pause in your life and see how life pivots for you, and how you can merge with the moment and the experience. Thank you, Dax.